When no one is coming to save you, your assets must do what people refuse to do: protect you, feed you, and open doors. If you have no support, no network, no safety net, no powerful family, no one making calls for you, and no one opening doors, then you cannot live like a man who has backup. You need assets, not symbols, not luxury, not fake status, not things that make you look successful while one emergency can still make you obey. Here is the question most men avoid. If everyone disappeared tomorrow, what would still work for you? Your skill, your proof, your audience, your product, your reputation, your cash reserve, your systems? Because if the answer is nothing, then you are not independent yet. You are ambitious, but exposed. The Federal Reserve reported that only 63% of adults could cover a $400 emergency expense using cash or its equivalent. That means a large portion of people are financially fragile under even small pressure. That is not just a money problem, that is a control problem. When one small emergency can force you to borrow, beg, sell, accept disrespect, lower your price, or obey someone you do not respect, you are not free. You are available for command. Now look at Warren Buffett. At age 11, he bought his first stock, 3 shares of Citi Service Preferred. He did not become rich overnight. In fact, he sold too early and later watched the stock rise. But the lesson was not the profit. The lesson was the language. He learned early that ownership behaves differently from labor. Labor says, I work, then I eat. Ownership says, I build or buy something that can work beyond my body. That is a different philosophy. That is a different posture toward life. Now look at Jay-Z. He did not remain only a performer selling attention, music, and image inside systems controlled by other people. He moved into ownership, platforms, brands, and equity. In 2021, Square agreed to buy a majority stake in Tidal for $297 million, and Jay-Z joined Square's board. That was not just music. That was reputation attached to ownership. That was audience attached to infrastructure. That was talent moving from performance into leverage. This is the lesson most unsupported men learn too late. People may ignore talent. They may doubt ambition. They may disrespect hunger. But they eventually have to deal with assets, because assets create proof, access, options, and pressure. So the question is not, do you have people? The question is, what have you built that makes you need fewer people to rescue you? Because if you do not understand this, you will stay trapped in the weakest position a man can occupy. Dependent, replaceable, easy to pressure. You will need the job more than the job needs you. You will need the client more than the client needs you. You will need approval before movement. You will need family permission before risk. You will need someone to believe in you before you have built evidence. And the world does not respect that. The world uses that. Machiavelli wrote, "The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves." A man without assets is neither lion nor fox. He has force in his chest, but no structure around him. He has ambition, but no trap awareness. He has desire, but no protection. He wants power, but he has not built the instruments that make power real. There are 7 assets an unsupported man must build first, not all at once, not perfectly, but deliberately. 1 asset feeds you. 1 asset proves you. 1 asset distributes you. 1 asset converts attention into money. 1 asset makes trust arrive before you do. 1 asset buys oxygen under pressure. And 1 asset governs you when motivation dies. Your weakest asset is the door through which life controls you. The first asset is your skill asset. This is what you can do that strangers will pay for. Not what your friends compliment, not what your family understands, not what sounds impressive in your imagination. What can you do that solves a painful problem for another human being? Can you sell when nobody knows your name? Can you write words that move attention, trust, and money? Can you edit videos that keep people watching? Can you design something that makes a business look more credible? Can you code, build artificial intelligence workflows, generate leads, improve content strategy, create offers, or help someone save time, make money, reduce risk, improve trust, or increase attention? That is where your first asset begins. A skill is not a hobby. A skill is not a personality trait. A skill is a weapon against dependency. If you have no skill, you must wait to be chosen. If you have skill, you can create value. If you create value, you can build proof. If you build proof, you can earn trust. If you earn trust, you can charge. If you can charge, you are no longer only asking the world for opportunity. You are bringing value to the gate. But most men choose skills through ego. They say, I want to be an entrepreneur. That means nothing. They say, I want to be rich. That means nothing. They say, I want to be free. That means nothing. Freedom begins with a colder question. What can you do? Who has the problem? Why would they pay? Choose one skill that can feed you before your excuses do. Sales, writing, editing, design, coding, artificial intelligence workflow setup, lead generation, content strategy, copywriting, YouTube scripting, short-form production, landing pages. Choose one. Attack it for 90 days. The unsupported man cannot afford confusion. Confusion is expensive when nobody is coming to stabilize you. One skill, one market, one attack. If you are the kind of man who is serious about power, stop confusing consumption with progress. You already know you need to build, but your problem is that you keep collecting ideas instead of constructing assets. If you keep studying without execution, you will become intelligent and still easy to pressure. Inside Patreon, you get exclusive unfiltered breakdowns, deeper strategy, and direct frameworks, so you can turn discipline into leverage instead of noise. This is not for spectators. It is for men who are done waiting for permission. The decision is yours. But skill alone is not enough. This is where skilled men still stay poor. They can help people, but nobody knows. They can solve problems, but nobody sees the result. They are competent in private and invisible in public. A hidden skill does not save you. A visible skill does. That is why the second asset is your proof asset. Proof is visible evidence that you can create value. A portfolio, public work, testimonials, case studies, before and after breakdowns, screenshots of results, recorded examples, sample projects. Proof turns your claim into evidence. Without proof, you say, trust me. With proof, you say, look at this. Without proof, you ask for belief. With proof, you invite judgment. Without proof, the market has to gamble on you. With proof, the market can inspect you. This matters because unsupported men often want belief too early. They say, nobody believes in me. Good. What have you shown them? Potential is not proof. Hunger is not proof. Pain is not proof. Hard work is not proof unless it leaves evidence behind. Build a proof asset. Create 3 sample projects. Write 1 before and after breakdown. Build 1 short case study. Create 1 clear offer page. Make 1 price list. Write 1 outreach message. If you have no clients, create self-initiated proof. Pick a real business. Analyze what can be improved. Create a sample improvement. Explain your reasoning. Show the before and after. Publish it. That is how an unknown man begins to become credible. Not by begging for someone to see his heart, by forcing the market to see his evidence. But even proof has a weakness. Proof hidden in a folder does not open doors. The next question is colder. Who sees your proof? The third asset is your audience asset. An audience asset is not fame. It is not vanity. It is not collecting weak approval from people who will never buy, never build, never understand, and never matter. An audience asset is distribution. It is a channel through which your ideas, proof, and offers can reach people repeatedly. A YouTube channel, a newsletter, an X account, a community, a content library, a private list. A place where your signal can appear again and again until strangers begin to understand what you solve, what you believe, and what standard your name represents. If you have no audience, every opportunity requires manual pursuit. You must knock every time. You must explain every time. You must start from zero every time. You must ask cold people to care about a man they have never seen. That is not impossible, but it is expensive. It costs energy, it costs time, it costs posture. A man with no distribution has to carry his proof, door to door. A man with distribution lets his proof travel while he sleeps. This is where most men misunderstand content. They post for validation. That is weak. You post to build controlled signal. You post what you know, what you are building, what problems you solve, what results you create, what standards you live by, what mistakes you have studied, what patterns you see that others miss. You are not entertaining strangers for applause. You are training the market to associate your name with value. A strong audience asset tells the world repeatedly, "This is what I understand. This is what I solve. This is how I think. This is what I build." Over time, strangers begin to trust the pattern. Not because you begged, because the signal kept appearing. But attention without conversion becomes another addiction. You can be seen and still be broke. You can have followers and still have no leverage. You can become known and still remain dependent if there is no offer behind the attention. So the next asset is your product asset. A product asset is anything repeatable that packages your value. A service package, a template, a course, a digital product, a software tool, a physical product, a paid audit, a workshop, a repeatable offer, a system. A product matters because it gives shape to your value. Without a product, you keep selling yourself from scratch. Every conversation becomes custom. Every price becomes uncertain. Every delivery becomes improvised. Every client has to be convinced from the beginning. That is not leverage. That is chaos with income attached. A product says, here is the problem, here is the result, here is how it works, here is the price, here is what happens next. The beginner says, I can help with anything. The strategist says, I create this specific result for this specific buyer through this specific mechanism. That is product thinking. Even if you are selling a service, package it like an asset. Name it, define it, price it, deliver it repeatedly, improve it, document the results. Turn delivery into proof. Turn proof into sales. This is how value becomes easier to understand, easier to buy, and easier to scale. But even products are weaker without trust. A man can have skill, proof, audience, and product, and still lose if nobody trusts his standard. That is why the fifth asset is your reputation asset. Reputation is trust that arrives before you do. It is what people believe about your competence before they speak to you. A man with no reputation must explain himself every time. A man with reputation enters warmer rooms. People already associate him with a problem, a standard, a result, or a worldview. Reputation reduces friction. And friction matters because the unsupported man cannot afford to spend his whole life proving himself from zero. Reputation is not built through image, it is built through repeated proof. If you want a reputation as a writer, publish strong writing. If you want a reputation as a strategist, publish sharp analysis. If you want a reputation as a closer, show sales thinking. If you want a reputation as a designer, show before and after. If you want a reputation as a builder, show what you are building. Your reputation grows when useful evidence keeps appearing beside your name. And here is the cold part. Silence is not neutrality, it is invisibility. If nobody knows what you can do, do not complain that nobody trusts you. Reputation must be built before you need it. But reputation still cannot protect you from every emergency. A good name does not pay rent by itself. Trust does not remove the shock of a broken car, a lost client, a medical bill, a slow month, or a bad negotiation. This is where the sixth asset becomes non-negotiable, your capital asset. Cash reserves. Investments. Money that buys time. Money that reduces panic. Money that lets you say no. Money that lets your nervous system remain strategic. Investor.gov explains compound interest as earning interest on both the principal and the accumulated interest, and its calculator is designed to show how money can grow over time through compounding. That is the long-term principle. Money can eventually work beside you instead of your body carrying everything alone. But before sophisticated investing, the unsupported man needs oxygen. A shock fund. A survival buffer. Cash reserves. If you have no buffer, every problem becomes a command. The emergency says, borrow. The rent says, accept the bad deal. The client says, lower your price. The job says, stay silent. The debt says, obey. Capital gives you space, not arrogance. Space. Space to think. Space to negotiate. Space to refuse. Space to build. Space to survive slow months without letting fear make every decision. At the beginning, your capital asset does not need to impress anyone. It needs to exist. 1 month of survival, then 3 months, then more, then responsible long-term assets as your income stabilizes. But never confuse symbols with capital. Luxury is not capital. Status is not capital. A watch is not financial oxygen. A car payment that corners you is not success. A lifestyle upgrade before a buffer is not power. It is a decorated trap. Capital makes you harder to pressure. But capital alone can vanish if your life is chaotic. Money without discipline leaks. Opportunity without routine dies. Ambition without structure becomes emotional noise. That is why the seventh asset is your system asset. This is the most invisible asset and one of the most important. Daily routines, distribution systems, sales systems, production systems, money systems, learning systems, delivery systems, review systems. A system is a repeatable mechanism that turns effort into output. Without systems, every day depends on emotion. If you feel strong, you work. If you feel weak, you collapse. If you are inspired, you produce. If you are tired, you disappear. That is not power. That is mood obedience. A man with systems becomes less dependent on emotion. He has a morning law, a deep work block, a weekly content schedule, a proof-building process, an outreach tracker, a delivery protocol, a financial allocation rule, a night review. This is how a life becomes governable. The unsupported man needs systems because nobody else is managing him. No boss for his ambition, no parent for his discipline, no mentor for his execution, no audience for his private standards. He must create internal infrastructure. This is why systems are assets. They keep producing when motivation disappears. They reduce decision fatigue. They protect focus. They expose weakness. They turn chaos into repeatable force. If you are an unsupported man, stop pretending that scattered effort is discipline. You already know you need structure, but your real problem is that you keep trusting mood to do the work of law. If you keep living without systems, your talent will appear in flashes and disappear when life gets heavy. Inside Patreon, you get exclusive unfiltered frameworks, deeper breakdowns, and practical operating systems so you can build power with structure instead of emotion. This is not for men who want comfort. It is for men who want command. The decision is yours. Now step back. Skill feeds you. Proof speaks for you. Audience distributes you. Product packages you. Reputation enters the room before you. Capital buys oxygen. Systems govern you. These 7 assets replace what people refuse to give you. No one supports you. Skill feeds you. No one believes you. Proof speaks. No one opens doors. Audience creates contact. No one gives you opportunity. Product turns your value into an offer. No one trusts you yet. Reputation compounds. No one protects you. Capital buys oxygen. No one governs you. Systems enforce law. This is the payoff. People may not support you. Assets can, not emotionally, strategically. Assets do not care whether you had a hard childhood. They do not care who doubted you. They do not care whether your family understands. They do not care whether your friends clap. They respond to construction. Build them, and they begin to serve you. Neglect them, and you remain dependent on people and circumstances you do not control. Stop thinking like an abandoned man waiting to be rescued. Start thinking like an architect, building assets that replace rescue. The old belief says, I need people before I can build power. Kill it. The strategic belief says, I build assets first, and assets create the power to choose better people later. That is the difference. You do not reject people. You stop needing the wrong people too early. Support is useful when it multiplies strength. Support is dangerous when it becomes the condition for action. So here is the practical command. Rate yourself from 1 to 10 on each asset. Skill, proof, audience, product, reputation, capital, system. Anything below 5 is not a shame. It is a vulnerability. If skill is below 5, enter the 90-day skill sprint. If proof is below 5, build 3 samples. If audience is below 5, publish proof content daily. If product is below 5, package 1 repeatable offer. If reputation is below 5, repeat 1 clear signal until the market remembers. If capital is below 5, build the shock fund. If system is below 5, create morning law, deep work, outreach tracking, and night review. Choose the weakest asset. Attack it first. Do not try to fix everything at once. That is how weak men hide inside planning. The unsupported man wins by building the next controllable layer, and the next, and the next. This is how abandonment becomes architecture. Not by crying about who did not come, by building what still works when they do not. When no one is coming to save you, your assets must do what people refuse to do. Protect you, feed you, open doors, subscribe.